if the integrated review showed one thing, it was that the UK lacked a strategy towards China, and it needs one. I put out a paper on that last year, but this current paper is in a sense a prequel to that, because it looks at what the Chinese Communist Party wants from the UK. And I think that in the UK government drawing up a strategy for China, it needs to be very clear about that. It's a long paper, but I hope that the 7,000 odd words are broken down into easily digestible sections. And in that, I look at the broader nature, first of all, the broader nature of the Chinese Communist Party's foreign policy and its aims, then at how important the UK is to China, not perhaps in the first rank, but certainly not unimportant either. And then the meat of the paper is what the Chinese Communist Party wants from us. And I think it can be divided both into the positive elements, what it wants, and the negative and what it doesn't want. On the positive side, UK has always been a showcase for China as a world leader in emerging industries like nuclear or high-speed trains, telecommunications. That's fallen by the way. It's important, the UK is important because we're a centre of innovation and science and technology. We're a major destination for investment. The city and its financial services are something that China wants to learn from, benefit from. And I think China appreciates the UK as an open economic system, a supporter of open global governance. And we have certain expertises that also in health, social security and urbanization, which are relevant to China's reform and development. On the negative side, of course, what it wants is to make sure that none of the above are excluded from China, but also that we don't disturb the Communist Party's narrative about itself globally, but whether it's in Africa, Asia, or indeed with its own citizens. And so there are elements there where the UK position on Hong Kong, on Xinjiang and the genocide there, on the South China Sea and sending ships through that, divergences on the way the media freedoms and governance should be organized, push back against the Chinese Communist Party's interference in the UK, and indeed increasing concern about the securities from the security services about Chinese intelligence activity and cyber attacks here in the UK. All these things the Communist Party doesn't want us to make much of, and indeed wishes to move us towards a position that's closer to theirs. And looking into the future, of course, there's the issues of Tibet and Taiwan, which I think are going to be very important over the next decade. The paper then goes on to look at what happens when the Chinese Communist Party fails to get what it wants from us. I look at, in particular, as I have done in the past, at threats to exports, to investment, to services in the City of London, tourism and students. And I think that the conclusion there is that the threats are not as bad as some portray. And then a look forward at UK relations and China relations, where they're going. Are we going to get the Australia treatment to be put in the diplomatic doghouse? I think that the Chinese have yet to decide that, but it's certainly been threatened. Until perhaps we have a strategy and our relations with the United States on China are clear, that might still remain in the future. And finally, like all good papers, it ends up with recommendations. Of course, since it's about what the Chinese Communist Party wants, perhaps the recommendations should be put to the Chinese Communist Party, but I doubt they'd accept them. So I have a few, not a great number for the British government, because those were included in the paper last year on a possible strategy towards China. But certainly we need to increase government's knowledge of the Chinese Communist Party. We need a detailed assessment of the costs of being in the diplomatic doghouse. Are they as bad as some people fear? We need to be prepared for turbulence. We need to get some certain important protective measures in place, particularly to defend our science and technology, sensitive science and technology in our companies and in our universities, and indeed to counter interference in other aspects. So perhaps we need to be looking at setting up, like the Australians, a national counter foreign interference coordinator's office. And of course, very obviously, we need to speed up and deepen our consultation and have more unified policies with like-minded countries, not least in the Indo-Pacific region. So the paper looks at all those things, and I hope that it will be useful, particularly in government, but elsewhere, to clarify our thinking on what China wants and therefore how we should be reacting to it.